It's good to be on top, isn't it? Top of the class, top of the team, top of the firm, even top of the state, if you can manage it. And who says it's lonely at the top? You're likely to attract a whole cadre of people willing to get close to you, flatter you, make you a deal, be your friend, and all for your sparkling personality, of course. This is the world of loyal showstopper Crawford. Like a captain or quarterback of a star football team, he's the fighter ace and leader of his own fighter squadron. He's the handsome face of the Broadway Bombers militia, and his performance in combat is the unquestioned strength of his Empire State. For his place in life, Loyal gets a lot of high-end perks. He and his squadron get the latest model fighter aircraft, and top-of-the-line facilities, and the best mechanics money can buy to maintain everything. Loyal himself is the nephew of an influential businessman, one that owns a great deal of wealth in business on Madison Avenue, and who is the foremost sponsor and patron of Loyal's fighter squadron, the Madison Venturers. Outside of air combat and his duty to the Empire State, Loyal's role is to be the golden boy of his uncle Bryce Howard and the latter's business empire. For clarity, in the Crimson Skies, just like in real life, militias are not like any nation's centralized military. Instead of collecting taxes to fund the recruitment of soldiers out of a pool of eligible citizens, militias are raised privately and locally, not strictly by taxes, but by the resources of private citizens, with the means to provide arms and support the people taking up the arms. In the Crimson Skies, most nation-states' militaries are described as militias, which would indicate their soldiers, pilots, and other personnel are locally recruited, and their arms and aircraft are sourced and commissioned for local use, as in, it's not expeditionary. This is the kind of system better optimized for countering roving bands of pirates, rather than going out to conquer and hold territory. Even with zeppelins able to crisscross the continent, hardly anyone is in a position or disposition to plant a flag and exert control in another state's territory, or at least under normal conditions. What makes Loyal Crawford and the Broadway Bombers special is that his squadron's patron, his Uncle Bryce, is just one of many militia squadrons that are privately funded. But his Madison Venture squadron might well be in competition with other squadrons and their sponsors for the favor and wallets of wealthy patrons across the Empire State. If the Broadway Bombers goes without the support of taxes from the citizenry, then courting the favor of the literal elites of the nation is vital for their profession, and it would be business as usual. So long as Loyal cuts a dashing, prestigious figure, and the squadron presents the prestige of their well-moneyed pedigree, then they can afford the means to be one of the best fighter squadrons in the Empire State, and with aspiration, the North American continent as well. This is where the inciting incident of the story comes in. The Black Swan comes to town. The Black Swan is a female air pirate, notorious for her success and efficiency in airborne theft and fighter combat. Like the queen of a roving war band, her pirate crew serves her every goal, from showing force to stealing whole zeppelins with no apparent difficulty. Whatever she wants, apparently nothing can escape. The Black Swan is the quintessential pirate threat to someone like Loyal Crawford, and her squadron a true menace to the people of the Empire State. So imagine his surprise when the Black Swan and her pirate band are invited for a friendly visit, courtesy of the President of the Empire State. Why would President LaGuardia, the acclaimed Emperor of the Empire State, court the Black Swan and make her a privateer, of all people? Loyal becomes suspicious and doesn't let go of his suspicion for a long time. Wanting to find out more, Loyal even has his squadron tail the Black Swan on one of her flights, which leads to a kind of mock dogfight, as her squadron objects to being tailed. This leads to one plane of each squadron colliding and taking a fall. Both pilots survive, but Loyal and the Black Swan almost come to blows, until Swan decides not to kill Loyal for his intrusion. Loyal indeed gets in trouble for his unsanctioned flights. It isn't until Loyal saves the president in his flying limo from an attack by the Red Skull pirates that he earns back enough favor with both his command and the Black Swan to learn something new. Her honor is such that she feels she owes him something, even for unknowingly saving her life, as she continued her meeting with the president. The Black Swan implies that much of the pirate threat facing the Empire State is founded on deception and misdirection, which does get the gears in Loyal's head turning. With a little sleuthing, a stumble upon smuggled fighters staged to attack the Empire State, a daring escape with an undercover Black Swan, and a rally with both the Broadway Bombers and the Black Swans taking down the bad guys, the Empire State and its government is saved and avenged, and Loyal and the Black Swan finally work past their hostility to cool their relationship to at least functional. The fisticuffs and the dogfights are less intriguing to me than the larger implied question: why would the president of the Empire State court the dangerous pirate Black Swan to uphold the national interest? There's a couple of interesting hints in story, and a couple more in Crimson Sky supplemental books that point to an interesting answer. We get a sense of the Black Swan's stake when she and Loyal have a conversation involving an old Russian aristocrat. In the Crimson Skies, when the Bolshevik Revolution turned the Imperial Russian Empire into a revolutionary communist state, the old aristocracy flees, and enough of them make it to America and the Empire State to form a kind of ruling elite in exile. In the conversation with the self-identified Grand Duke, the Black Swan invokes a name and implied title that checks the Duke's ego, before continuing her conversation with Loyal. Throughout the Crimson Skies, the mystery of the origins and history of the Black Swan is kept mysterious, although this implies that she has something to protect that concerns the old Russian aristocracy, family, title, or something of similar prestige. The lengths she goes to for her privacy implies that letting the knowledge get out would be dangerous. Whether to others or herself, we can't know. So here's where the Empire State President comes in. In the Black Swan, they have in their service a skillful, charismatic, and intimidating operator that can target the nation-state's enemies and give warning of incursion via sources in piratical circles. Not only that, but under our previous assumption, the President has in their care an entire class of people among whom this operator has something to protect, and may do almost anything to keep it as unknown. Maybe the President knows what the Black Swan wants to keep safe. Maybe he doesn't. But in either case, by holding up his end of the unknown bargain, he can increase the power and security of the Empire State using the infamy of the glamorous and mysterious female pirate. To answer the question as to why a president of a state that presumes the prestige of empire would make this deal, some background context is in order. In keeping with some national stereotypes playing into the character of new American nation-states, New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey come together in an empire state that's founded mostly on its sense of elitism. As large and as diverse as the people and geography of the Empire State may be, prime importance is put upon the prestige of the wealthiest families, in parallel to the prestige placed on New York City itself as exemplary of the new nation. This elitism is expressed in several methods. A media machine that tirelessly extols the virtues of the nation as facts, fit for argument against all questioners. Air militia squadrons, outfitted in the best ways money can buy, and that apparently never fail their mission to combat the state's enemies. And perhaps most pertinently, a so-called Gotham Council, made up of the Empire State's wealthiest, most influential citizens, that essentially make up its aristocracy. The president was made so by acclamation when the states seceded from the United States and their local state and city officials decided to choose a leader. In time, there were elections, and ostensibly, the president won by a landslide, legitimizing the new nation-state. But the president doesn't run everything, not as an autocrat, and truly not as a dictator. There's no national military fit for the task. Even the president, lauded as emperor, needs a governing body, the Gotham Council, to set the larger policies. And as each member of the Gotham Council is a wealthy aristocrat, they would essentially pay for their influence and the means to turn that influence to policy. It's no stretch to assume that policy would revolve around securing and expanding their own benefits as elite. And any faults in those policies could easily be deflected by the efficient media machine that would deflect blame onto less privileged parties. In such a political environment, even the president might need some means of protecting his own legitimacy as an effective and unassailable leader. Imagine if one or a few things go wrong, and go wrong in ways that can't be easily deflected by the media machine. The Gotham Council would be under pressure of maintaining their own prestige, to put the blame on someone convenient, the president. You could say that when you're the leader, everything is your fault. So what's a president to do in that scenario, or in preparation for such? There's at least one method that earns legitimacy. I suspect a great deal of what the elites do is sponsor militia squadrons to legitimize themselves by defending the nation, even besides their own wealth and investments. In making a proficient pirate like the Black Swan into a privateer for the Empire State, the president gets to maintain his kudos as an effective leader. It's the same logic as other dear leaders in history forming their own personal guards of one sort or another, having an ostensibly effective unit of fighters fit to protect the leader and, by extension, the national interest. Unlike other examples founded for a leader's vanity, the president of the Empire State making a privateer of the Black Swan might be the best deal he could ever make, so long as he doesn't make her mad, that is. This makes an interesting comparison and contrast between Loyal Crawford and the Black Swan. In comparison, both Loyal and Swan serve the political system by defending the nation and upholding the prestige of their respective patrons. Loyal's Uncle Bryce and his businesses on Madison Avenue for one, and the president himself for the other. In contrast, Loyal is expected to always cut the perfect figure for public relations. The cost of his being the golden boy is that he can never be anything else, especially not in private, out of the public eye, lest he invite scandal and embarrassment. Meanwhile, the Black Swan manages an arrangement out of an undefined but very logical necessity that she maintain her privacy as perfectly as possible, lest she be personally threatened. For lack of a better metaphor, Loyal is like a perpetually open book that might like to close up every now and then, while the Black Swan is a closed book that would hope never to be opened.